Hi everyone, Green Thumb Librarian here. Today I'm going to be making some cinnamon rolls with cream cheese frosting. It's one of my favorite things to make, and it's pretty easy if you have a bread maker. If you don't have a bread maker, you can still make it in a bowl. But this is the easy way because, well, I'm old and my arms aren't as strong as they used to be. So, here we go. First of all, don't forget to put your paddle in. That's what mixes the dough. That. I always get this, there we go, lined up wrong. Then, we're going to use 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. If you don't have the jar of active dry yeast, you can use the individual packages. So 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast is the same as one of the packages, and I use Fleischmann's, just my favorite. And then we're going to add 3 cups of flour, and I just use regular all-purpose bleached flour. You can use unbleached flour if you want. Then we're going to add a 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. I've got 1 teaspoon of salt. I try to pour it away from the sugar, so I've got sugar on one side of the container, salt on the other. And then I used a 1.5 tablespoons of margarine. You can also use butter. And I had a cube, so I used the little lines on the cube to measure a tablespoon. Then I cut a 2nd tablespoon and cut it in half. So we've got 1.5 tablespoons of butter. You need a cup of milk plus a 1/2 tablespoon, and you need it to be warm. It should be between 80 and 90 degrees. And so I stuck this in the microwave. Let's see what it says. Okay, so right now it says it's 85 degrees, which is perfect. We're going to pour that in. And then we need 1 egg. 1 large egg. And then, rinse off my hands real quick. It is ready to go into the bread maker. Now, my bread maker has different settings. It has a menu, and I want it on level 9 because level 9 is the dough setting. So I'm going to click this up to number 9, and in it goes. It's going to do all of its own mixing and rising, and I'll be back in an hour and a half when it's ready to take out of the pan. So, I'm going to click the start button, and I'll see you in a little while. The bread machine just stopped after mixing its first round of mixing. Let's open it up and see what it looks like. Okay, so it's mixed, but not completely mixed. It'll rest for a few minutes and then it'll start up again. And it should get the rest of the dough from around the edges, and it will work itself into a nice smooth ball. So I'll be back to show you that in a little bit. Hi, I'm back. My cinnamon roll dough has been mixing and rising in my bread maker for an hour and a half, and now I'm going to take it out and put the yummy stuff on it that's going to turn it into cinnamon rolls. So let's do that now. My bread dough has risen, our cinnamon roll dough has risen all the way to the top of the pan. That, I know my yeast is working. What I do when I'm ready to take it out to make buns or any kind of rolls, I start it again, and I just do it enough so that the dough goes down. Okay, first of all, flour your surface. Don't need too much flour, but you do need some. You're going to want to flour your rolling pin. Keeps the dough from sticking to your counter and your rolling pin. And your fingers, of course. Okay, got it out of there. Apply my little dough beater. Flour. If you don't have a rolling pin, you can roll this out with your fingers like this. We want it to be about 1/4 of an inch thick when we're done. And it should be sort of a rectangle. Mine usually doesn't turn out as a rectangle. It sometimes turns out as a blob. That looks pretty good. Okay. To that, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of melted butter, which I've already melted in the microwave. I stuck the 2 tablespoons of butter in the microwave. I put a paper towel over the top of the bowl, and I microwaved it for 15 seconds, which made it be just right. It's got a little bit of chunks left. And that, actually, I used margarine. I used imperial margarine. To that, we're going to use 1/4 of a cup of sugar. Anytime you're measuring out dry ingredients, you want to level them off. So I'm going to go this way. I'm going to make it flat, so it's exactly 1/4 cup. I'm going to put that in. And I need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And this one you're going to want it to be level also. So you can do it like this. If you don't have this kind of container where you can actually smooth it off with it, you can use a knife. Pour that in. I'm going to mix that all up. It smells so good, cinnamony. Just spread this all over this side of the dough. Get as much of that goodness off here as we can. Cinnamon rolls are one of my favorites. I don't make them very often though because I eat too many of them. I've got special company coming today, and so I want to treat them to some cinnamon rolls. Looks like I almost made this too big. Okay. Now, normally I add a half a cup of raisins to this. I just sprinkle them all over the top. But today, I've got finicky people who don't like raisins. So for my guest benefit, I'm not putting raisins in. Now, if you want fat raisins, or excuse me, fat cinnamon rolls, you can roll it this way, and then you would get like 5 big cinnamon rolls. If you roll it the way I'm going to roll it, so you're rolling on the long side, just roll this up, you'll get more cinnamon rolls. Don't need all that extra flour on the bottom, but it won't hurt. It's okay if it's a little bigger in the middle. That just means some of the cinnamon rolls are going to be a little bit bigger than the others. Now, cinnamon rolls. To cut cinnamon rolls, the very easiest way, you can use dental floss. If you don't have dental floss, you could use thread. I've used thread many times. So, got my pan, I greased it. I used shortening because I've always used shortening for cinnamon rolls or buns. You could use some Pam, you could use some butter. And these need to be about an inch thick. See how easily that cut? Looks pretty tiny, doesn't it? Well, there will be some bigger ones in the middle. But the littler ones are just right for me and my grandkids. Don't have to tuck in those ends. I might rearrange these when I'm done. Just because this one's a little bit thin, that's okay. My pan is 10 by 14. You can use a 9 by 13 pan. I did last time. It made nice, big cinnamon rolls. But this is the pan I normally use. So I thought I would go back to that. The other one, I had to really smush them into the pan. This one, they have a lot more room for rising. Just use a little bit. On one side I've got some larger ones, and on the other side I've got some smaller ones. Okay. Spread some of this goodness on some of these, just because I don't like to waste it. Alright, I'm going to cover these with a dishcloth, and I'm going to let them rise for about an hour, and then we'll be back. Alright. Okay, I've got my dish towel. I have a couple of these white cotton dish towels I saved just for baking breads. So I'm going to cover this. I'm going to put it on the top of my stove to rise. because my oven is heating up, and it will help it to rise. It's also in a draft-free area, so we'll be back in a little while. Okay, my cinnamon rolls have been rising for about 40 minutes. I'm going to check on them and see how they're doing, and I think that might be long enough. Oh yes, they look beautiful. So, here's what they look like. I'm going to put them in the oven at 375 degrees for about 20 minutes, and I've already preheated the oven. Okay, I will be back when they are done. Okay, my timer just went off. I've had my cinnamon rolls in the oven for 20 minutes at 375 degrees. Let's see what they look like. Oh, nice. They're a nice golden brown color, and they smell delicious. I'm going to put these on my cookie cooling rack for a little while, and then I'm going to frost them with my cream cheese frosting. Hi, I'm back. I let my cinnamon rolls cool for about 30 minutes on the counter, and now I'm going to frost them with my cream cheese frosting. I've already made a batch of cream cheese frosting, but it's pretty easy to make. It takes 1/4 cup of butter softened, 1/4 cup of cream cheese softened. Mix those together. You can use a blender. I use my little immersion blender. To that, add 1 cup of sugar a little bit at a time until it's completely blended, and then 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And when you get done, it will look something like this, and this is the best. So I'm going to go ahead and spread this on. I'm going to make another video for the cream cheese frosting, and I'll put the ingredients in my description. So here we go. This is the best part. Put this on liberally, which means lots and lots of it. I have different sized cinnamon rolls, but that's okay because I have different sized appetites in my house. I might speed this up a little bit. There you go. Fresh homemade cinnamon rolls, ready for my company.